basically gonna adopt the same budgets for, there will have to be an adjustment for boutique, but we were able to parlay it with profit, so it didn't really harm us in any way, shape, or form. So,
We should have a more fluid one in our next meeting.
yeah, in October, I will have a very nice looking presentation for you guys. I will have.
We'll have copies.
Yes, we'll have copies, we'll have everything, but I was handed everything yesterday. I'm still trying to kind of get my feet wet.
So is there any way we can delay the vote? I don't feel.
It's, if you wanna come look at it, it's literally, we spent less than what we did. The only adjustment we will probably have to make is boutique, and that's still fluid. We now have to insure the boutique, so that did adjust our costs, but what we had estimated for the income versus the expense, literally, if you do a multiplier, it's like, numbers are bigger and it works. So there wouldn't be any financial loss or anything like that. And we also keep in the kitty, the bank, we always keep a surplus of 10,000. We're hoping to build on that this year. When COVID hit, they opted, because we were not bringing in memberships, we were not bringing in anything. We had a budget basically of $10,000 for that year. Last year we had a surplus, we banked about 10. Currently, we're banking about 12. So hopefully with some of the things that we're going to be doing this year, we will actually be able to give out. Our scholarships were $10,300 last year. We're hoping to get it back up to, it used to be approximately $15,000 to $16,000 every year. So we're hoping to get there. But the budgets, if you guys want to come take a peek and stuff and do the quick math, it all does break down exactly the same. And even with inflation for this year, we're still nicely buffered.
I just think it's in good form to see stuff before, for people to be informed, like on to vote blind.
Our problem right now is we cannot write checks until we get something temporarily passed, and I need to start writing some checks.
Can we pass it around and come back to this motion
We
towards the
can.
end of the meeting? Would that be okay with you?
Is that taking into consideration the change in the bonus happening?
Yeah, that's not included. No, these are separate issues with the GPA requirement. I can actually, so, going to that question real quick. I actually was the scholarship chair last year, so I actually saw all the GPAs and everything like that. And the reason why we're changing it is that, honestly, no one below a 2.5 even submits. And it's also just to kind of tighten it up and make sure that we're getting people who want to write an essay. You know, it is a 2-page essay. It does go into some detail. And it's just kind of clean up the parameters so that we're getting qualified people. Last year we were very lucky I believe it was 37 applicants. We had 66 that qualified, 37 submitted. They all cleared the threshold and everyone received a check. So, and that does not always happen. Not all of them clear the threshold. There is a grading rubric and all of that, which we can go into at another time, or we can send one out to you guys if you want, for all that. But in regards to budget, you know, it's just very basic, very simple. Most of it's hospitality. We do have some, you know, office expenses. Boutique, we just need a tentative A-OK on that because we do need to write some checks to some vendors and things like that. We also need to secure our website again. You know, a lot of basic stuff we need to get going. We just had some delays. They were, we had to reevaluate and clean up a few things from a couple of years ago, actually. That was discovered in the closure of this year.
And we don't have another PTSO meeting till October.
So I should have a very beautiful one. And hopefully by about mid-October, even before we have the meeting, I might be able to, if people want to look, I can probably send one. I just know it won't be done by the end of this week. A little too much going on.
Last question, that is the budget for this year, the projection greater than last year, considering we're coming off COVID and everyone's going to.
No, it's about the same. It's about the same. We're actually hoping to bring in more. We've had 2 fundraisers already, actually. We brought in Kona, although we're not sure we're gonna get much off of that, it didn't go as well as expected. And then we did have an event through Menchie's, and we have not received, the numbers on that so far. We are still getting Kroger checks. And we do have some other levels. We did raise prices on boutique as well, because we now have insurance costs. It used to be, we literally talked to the school, can we use the gym? No problem. We now actually have to rent the gym through a service. We have to provide insurance. So there's some newer aspects to it, and, you know,
No, it's my mom.
we were able to cover it, thankfully. Our income was actually estimated, if I remember correctly off the sheet, was estimated at 8,000 with an expenditure of approximately 2. We had 17,000 come in. Our expenditure was about 555.
We're not looking to raise the budget, I think that's what you were
Yeah,
asking.
we are definitely not gonna raise
It's
the
gonna
budget.
be what we had pretty much from last year because we were under on some of our expenses. So we're not looking to increase the budget.
Yeah. What we wanna do though is increase the output for scholarship.
Yeah, we're
That
hoping
we
to raise
definitely-
money.
Yeah, that we're definitely aiming for.
So there'll be more fundraisers.
More coming
this
in.
year on the budget where you didn't see those before.
But, so yeah, more coming in and not any more expenses going out as far as
But
costs.
yeah, there's some insurance and stuff there too, but.
Yeah, that's kind of the unknown
But
quantity
it's
right
pretty
now.
much the same.
But we'll have that by October,
Yeah.
because we have to have it before October.
So any other questions on the budget before we move on?
So I'll come back. I'll let you guys look at that, and we'll come back and vote on it again at the end of the meeting. Just to speak. All right, so. Treasurer, do you have anything, or did you just?
So that was
cover
it.
all?
That was basically my,
Do you wanna report what's in the account right now?
so the budget that's going around, the current balance as of the end of June was $16,793.78. Current balance is, 19,000, just today, I just happened to peek in, took out what we know is out there, is $19,600.90. And we are starting to receive boutique checks
Membership.
and membership. Membership, we, let's see, oh, shoot, well, not including these. We've already brought in, it has not been deposited yet, we will be moving the funds soon, about 1,600 so far in membership dues alone. We are doing much better than we did last year based on that. We still have Venmo, we have PayPal. We will get Zelle back in at one point, we have to fix something there. That's a VAT. We'll do that next time. And then of course we do have our lovely envelopes. And if you guys fill them out and you write a check today, just leave it with me. I will take care of that. Oh, and real quick with membership, if you guys do submit a membership on PayPal or Venmo or by envelope, be aware that you will be receiving an email with a Google form. And that is where you're going to fill out, please fill it out here as well, but all of your lovely information, including your children's school email. That's how we get in contact with them for scholarships and all of that. So, because everything is done online now.
All right, you want to go to scholarship report for Michelle?
Hello again. Okay, so the scholarship, we've done this for many years. So with the now approved GPA, the Saugus High School PTSO created the scholarship to recognize the hard work of many students who make up and enrich our Saugus High School community. It is for students who are graduating seniors with a GPA of 2.5 or greater, are applying to any college, vocational school, apprenticeship program, or the military, are current members of the PTSO. The Saugus High School PTSO scholarship applications will be reviewed by PTSO members in order to confirm the GPA. And then we have our due dates. So we need, if you have a senior, like I do, my daughter's birth date, November 18th, is the due date this year to get your membership in. You have until midnight actually, because we'll be clearing the accounts the next day. and putting together the list, and then we send it out. And then once we get everything approved, what happens is, so a lot of this happens without parents knowing. I got a lot of emails from parents, my child has not received their email. They did, it's in their school email, it's not in their generalized email. Just after Thanksgiving, once we get the clearance on the GPAs, we send out an email to your children with a lovely essay prompt. They get to write a 2-page essay based on this prompt. We have a grading rubric for all the readers. At one point, Michelle will be up here, or whoever will be representing Michelle will be asking for readers. Readers are those that are not related to any seniors. I'm disqualified this year, which I'm kind of bummed because like, the essays are amazing. Let me tell you, being a reader is beneficial. The only caveat we do warn is that if you have any association with November 14th of 2019, we ask that you not be a reader. There were a couple of intense essays, and this year we are expecting quite a few. So there's that, and we will need readers for that, and just make sure your senior's in it. And memberships are always good. We do supply a lot of lunches. We were able to give out $10,300 last year. Our 2 top prizes were $600. Generally, our top prize is $1,000. We would really, really, really like to get back there, and it is, from experience, it's really neat to go to Caper and see all the students who are recognized and to be able to hand them these scholarships, and to also see the other awards that are involved in Caper. As freshman parents, you could end up getting a little email, your child has been nominated for a Caper Award. Please come to the awards ceremony because it is so cool. We did ours online. My daughter did qualify for one freshman year. I do recommend, if your child qualifies, please go. It's just, oh, amazing. Mr. Perky, what does Caper stand for? Because I always forget.
Centurion Academy of Pupil Recognition.
That's what it is.
Caper, yeah.
It's this really awesome awards ceremony at the end of the year.
All right, thank you. We'll go to boutique report with Wendy.
Hello. Our boutique is what funds most of our senior scholarship. It's a huge event. This is our 32nd year of hosting it. We have 113 booths, I believe. We set it up in our gym. If you've never been, it's a big event. We have vendors that have been coming back for 10 years. And it's a great community thing. It just gets a lot of people. Anyway, we are about 90% full on our vendors. We're taking new vendor applications now. Our prior vendors were given a month to decide if they wanted to come back. I get applications every day. So as I'm narrowing down to the last few booths, I'm starting to look to make sure we're not duplicating too much in one particular thing. I'm definitely not accepting jewelry vendors. There's plenty of jewelry vendors and probably a wreath. I don't think I'm going to take any more wreaths. So I'm just trying to make it a little more sporadic. So I have turned a few people away, but they didn't have anything else to sell. And so far, it's brought in $13,880. So new vendors get charged a fee of $170 to have a spot for the weekend. Return vendors, we've honored their price, either $130 or $155 depending on their new size. This year, our new vendor rate will go up to $170. It was $150. And next year, our returning vendors price is also just because, like we said, we had to move to Silicon. We now have to pay for janitors. There's a whole bunch of things now that's incorporated, and we don't want to take that from our scholarship money, so we had to pass that fee on to our vendors, unfortunately. But at least for the last 5 years I went back, they have not changed the price. I still think we're one of the lowest out there for a 2-day gig that's Amazon.
Can she just do a quick update?
Sure. Is that a
Ivy, she's our student body president. She's going to talk about what we're doing with ASB right now, what we're doing right now. We pulled her out to do a little quick update here. Okay.
Yeah, so homecomings this week, we have our homecoming game with the floats and all that stuff, that is Friday, August 26th, and then homecoming is August 27th. It's a carnival. We have 8 carnival rides this year, and yeah, that's what we'll be announcing our court and stuff. Tickets are on sale right now. If you have a dance pack, it's for free. What else? I think that's about it for now. We're like really stacked up with homecoming. But yeah, we just picked our food curators, so that should be exciting. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Any questions? Yes. Yes. So you bought it at the beginning of the year, so it's just on your ID card. I'm sure you can have your student go over to the ASB office and just copy the student ID. But there's like, I don't think there's like any identification on the card. It's just like the bottom. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure it's not. Considering that you get like a lot of events. I think every dance except so I'm sure it's not. They can go in and ask. I can ask if you want me to. Any other questions? So the dance pack is basically, I'm pretty sure it's homecoming, Sadie's, and your carnival that you get in for free, and then prom, it's not included in there. But then it's kind of similar to the ASB card. Any other? I'm gonna go find out. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. All right, while we wait for Mr. Hugo, Mindy will talk just real quick on membership. If there's any questions on membership. It's ongoing. You can pay at any time throughout the year, but seniors have to have it paid by November 18th.
He's on his way, he's right outside.
So any questions on membership?
We kind of went over what we brought in.
Yeah, yes, question. Sorry.
Is there a way to verify identity?
We haven't sent anything out necessarily. If you did it on Venmo, if you
By check?
by check, okay, the notifications will be sent through Venmo for Venmo. Because we don't have, not everybody put their email on Venmo. So you'll get a notification with the Google form link through Venmo. I will double check with Tony on that one.
And then one last question right here.
Yes, so parents obviously get the voting rights for the PTSO meetings. What do freshmen benefit from being a PTSO member?
Funding scholarships.
For seniors?
Membership.
Okay.
It's kind of a pay it forward in a way, you know, you keep your kids enrolled. My kids have been enrolled the whole time that they've been here as well.
Okay, now I want to introduce Mr. Hugo. He is our newest AT here this year. Yay.
Hey, how are you guys doing today? My name is Vaughn Hugo. I'm one of the new assistant principals. We have 2 of them here. Myself and Ricardo De La Peña, who is coming to us. He's had administrative experience in the Lancaster area for 5 years. I'm actually a graduate of Saugus High School. My kids both went through here. So I believe that for sure. And I was at Arroyo Seco for 18 years, so I've had many of your kids. And I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I will be honest, I don't know all the answers, but I'm good at getting the answers. I know Ms. Peterson Henry is bummed she's not here today, and I'm stepping in her place, and I apologize she's not here. But anyways, I wanted to welcome you. I want to congratulate you. Getting involved in your kids' education is huge. It's really an important part, and I know it's your time and your effort, and for that you should be applauded. That's greatly appreciated. One of the things, I got to know some of you guys at registration. One of the things that wasn't mentioned, the advantage of 9th graders, is that if you help out at registration for a couple hours, your kids get to register early and they can avoid the lines, and that tends to be beneficial, so there's always that. Appreciate all of that. We have back to school night coming up. Today's Tuesday, right? 2 weeks from today is back to school night already. And you guys are going to have a table, a booth? I think so, yeah. Okay. And maybe that's something you guys will talk about soon. Anyways, so obviously the first week we had some bumps with the schedule. I don't want to walk into mine here, but we were trying to figure it out. Best laid plans go sideways. We worked a lot of those things out, and it should be much smoother moving forward. That first week having 4 different schedules on 4 different days was certainly a challenge. But starting up school is always a challenge, and there's always bumps in the road. We get better as we go along. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for getting involved. Is there any questions, concerns, anything you want to?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
As far as sophomores getting released at lunch, they have their fifth and sixth period, is that ever going to be possible here, or do you have to check them out?
Unfortunately, that's a district policy right now that they can't be released until the end of lunch. So it's possible the district will change because I think there's two Valencia this fall this year as well. And West Ranch. So we now have 3 of the schools. Okay, so they may have to address that. As of right now, we're bound by what the board is telling us, and that may change. But for the moment, that's our policy. And I hate to bounce, but we have kids out there at supervision and all of that. So if you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. And I thank you guys for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
All right. So now I want to
You can
introduce.
stay there if you like, or if you want me to stay, you can see the screen. I mean, film, that's right, Mr. Williams is here.
I want to introduce Mr. Fricky. He is one of our counselors here that has been here how long? How many
My
years?
22nd
Yes.
year. Long time.
He's going to go over lots of information.
Okay, so where should I stand, S&N?
Anywhere you need to.
Is this okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marty Fricky. I'm one of the counselors here. I'm very excited to talk to you today about preparing for college. This is a presentation I give for the PTSO every year, but if you've been here in previous years, there's some updated information, and it's always good to refresh your memories on college information news. I'm also going to be giving this presentation to students once we get past Labor Day, including application workshops, college information workshops, and financial aid for students and parents. So this is just the very beginning. If you'd like to take notes, feel free to, or you could also just email me. I brought some business cards, and I can share this presentation with you afterwards, and then that way you have it in your computer. This year I'm very excited. We have 7 counselors now. We have an additional counselor. We have a grant from the state to increase college going rates. So that's a big push statewide to increase the number of students who are eligible to go directly to university after high school graduation. And I've taken on the responsibilities of fulfilling those grants. So if your students have any questions on what they need to do to meet university admission requirements, I'm kind of a counselor at large this year. So I encourage them to reach out to me or the regular counselor, but definitely they're welcome to reach out to me for help and assistance. So with this, going over California colleges by numbers, we have a lot of options in the state of California, including 9 undergraduate campuses in the University of California system, 23 undergraduate campuses of the California State University system, 113 California community colleges, including our closest one, College of the Canyons, and well over 100 private or independent universities, ranging from as small as CalArts or Masters University here in Santa Clarita to large national schools like USC, Stanford, and more. So students have a lot of options after graduation, but there are certain things they need to do in order to get there. First of all, for California community colleges, they are open enrollment. So any high school graduate may enroll at community college. Of course, we want students to do the best they can academically in high school, be involved in clubs and activities, but all students are allowed to enroll in a community college. Nothing will hold them back. Students do have different options there. They can work on vocational certificates. At COC, you could study and get your real estate license. You could study land surveying. You could study welding. And if you work on one of those certificates, you do not have to do all the general math, English, science, history, graduation requirements. You just take classes to focus on going directly into the workforce. COC has a large number of them. They're great options for students who are looking at going directly into the workforce with specific training. They offer transfer to UC, CSU, and other four-year colleges. They also offer associate's degree, and part of all this is the associate's degree with the transfer. And you'll see the logo at the bottom right. The state really is pushing for students who are looking to transfer to get that associate's degree while also completing their transfer requirements. In the past, students could go to COC, transfer to a university without an associate's degree, or they might get that associate's degree, but when they transfer, they have to take additional coursework at the university because they took coursework for the associate's degree that didn't count for the bachelor's degree. The state said this is nonsense. We want students who transfer to take the courses to ensure that the courses required for transfer and the courses required for an associate's degree overlap, that they are two different pathways, so students are unnecessarily taking credits that they don't need. It's not quite aligned with the community colleges in the UC system yet, but with the CSU it is, the associate's degree for a transfer, so your students are getting that associate's degree while completing their transfer requirements, not taking additional courses they don't need, but keeping them on the path to graduate with their 4-year degree in 4 years. At the bottom right, you see that's the acronym COC loves to throw out. It's a pathway that students follow in order to transfer. So if you are looking at the transfer opportunity at COC, it's a great way to open the doors for UC, CSU, and even private and out-of-state schools. Our students may take COC classes more in the 11th and 12th grade. Actually, some are after the 10th grade years when it opens. The fees are waived for high school students. They do have to pay the student health center fee, parking if you want to park, and a few other fees. But basically, you can earn high school credit for high school and college. Some of the classes that COC offers here, and we don't offer everyone every semester, but they include different courses. In the past, we've had Communications 105, that's one of the golden 4 that you need to transfer from community college to the state university system. Computer science, one we offer every semester is Counseling 110. I highly recommend taking Counseling 110 in high school for all students. Number one, it's an upper division course, so it'll count for your college graduation. But number 2, if you plan on attending a community college after high school, it's required in order to participate in the Canyons Promise program that can pay for up to 2 years of your college education for free. I have more details about Canyons Promise later. The Counseling 110 is a great first college class for students to take. It's not a rigorous course, it's more of a self-exploratory course. You learn about college careers, which colleges you need for certain careers. You take personality tests. Hey, you're a person that might work well in the office, or you might work well in the outdoors. It's all more of a self-explanatory, exploratory course, but it is an upper division course. Counseling 110 is a great starter class to take for college and career success.
That's here at
Yes, we offer it here at Saugus, but it's also offered online through COC. The class here is already started. It's already full, but students can enroll in it in the semester they like. So here's a map of the UC and CSU campuses. As I mentioned, the 9 undergraduates. I say that because there is a medical school, UC San Francisco, but you can only enroll in that after your bachelor's degree. And the 23 campuses spread broadly throughout the state. So our students do have quite a few options on where they're going on to after graduation. But the main thing, you probably heard of A through G. Many of you parents, when you were in high school, as the A through F requirements, that changed about 2003 to include fine arts as one of the requirements. The A through Gs are the minimums of what students have to complete in high school in order to go to a UC or CSU. The A through G requirements is completely doable to complete them, but the reason why California has these A through G requirements is we are the largest state in population, and there needs to be an objective way to say, yes, this is what you need to meet in order to apply to a university. Now, it does not mean in many cases that you're guaranteed to get into the universities, but it is a minimum requirement to submit your application. And if you are, if you have not met all the A through G requirements, you can't go directly to UC, CSU after graduation. Keep in mind, this is just for the public universities, UC, CSU. Private universities are not bound by the state law of A through G, but we do recommend if you're looking at private or out-of-state universities, A through G is a very appropriate pathway to follow to ensure that you're competitive as possible for private and out-of-state schools. So this is what students need to do. Number one, they have to pass 4 years of English. And when I say pass it, they have to pass every semester with a C or better. So the universities are looking at the semester grades that come out in December and June. So even if it's an honors or AP course and you get D in it, that's not rounded up to a C. Those grades need to be made up. So you must pass 4 years of English with a C or better every semester. For math, you must pass 3 years, including algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. Some of our students complete algebra in 8th grade and they start geometry in 9th grade, and they take Algebra 2 in 10th grade, that actually counts for 3 years of college prep coursework. Algebra is the one area where they count junior high coursework. But of course, we require 3 years of math, so they still have to take math in their 11th grade year, and we strongly recommend math as seniors. But technically, if you're in Algebra 2 in 10th grade, you've met the A to G requirement at that grade. For history, you have to do 1 year of world history to be either a Mod Civ or AP World History course, and 1 year of US history. You have to pass 2 years of science, 1 year of biological science, which is our freshman biology course, and 1 year of physical science, which would be chemistry or physics. For LOTE, language other than English, it must be 2 years of the same foreign language. Sometimes our students come into our courses already proficient in a language and enter into Spanish 2, for example, don't do Spanish 1. That's fine because the LOTE requirement is a level requirement. As long as you finish the second year of coursework, you've satisfied that requirement.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
What if they take the language at COC that meets the requirement
Right,
for 2 years here?
that would meet the requirement. But on the other hand, so many of our students do start foreign language in the 9th grade year that if they start in grade 9, we encourage them to continue on and complete in grade 10. Yeah, Ms. Hyman?
Sorry. So my kids keep coming home and saying that physics is going to be required to graduate. When does that kick in?
Well, could I talk about that like
No
about
problem.
with A to G?
That's a whole nother.
Okay, that's a whole nother to do. So fine arts. You have to do 1 year of the same fine arts. And when I say same fine arts, it has to be in the same category. So you notice students in marching band, you have marching band in the fall, symphonic band in the spring, or concert or wind, that would count as 1 year. But you can't do 1 semester of art and 1 semester of music, that's not in the same area. So it does need to be 1 year of fine arts. That's an addition from 2003. So back if you were in high school before 2003, it was the A through F requirements, no fine arts requirement. It was required for CSU and not for UC. 20 years ago, they aligned it to be the same. When I say 1 year of approved college prep elective, that's anything above and beyond the requirement. A 3rd year of science, a 4th year of math, just anything above and beyond, which our students usually have no problems meeting because we require 3 years of science, even though the A to G is only required 2, and we require 3 years of social studies, they only require 2. You'll notice government and econ are not A to G requirements, but they are graduation requirements. So the only time it comes into play with the college prep elective is if you get multiple Ds, just ensuring you've done something above and beyond with a C or better. Yeah, question?
So fine art versus practical art. So I know you have different requirements to graduate
Yes.
high school. So if your child was meeting the high school requirements of fine arts, would it automatically meet the
Yes, yeah, good question. If they meet the high school requirements of fine arts, then they met the A to G, but it doesn't necessarily mean they meet the practical arts requirement. We do have some courses, like Mr. Williams in the video classes, that are approved as both fine arts and practical arts credits. So for them, they met both the A to G requirements and both the fine and practical arts. But some fine arts courses like art, ceramics, theater arts only meet the fine arts, so they still have to do an additional practical art requirement. So, and as I noted down there, these are the minimum requirements. And I'll show you a list of schools where you're automatically admitted with the minimums. But of course, we encourage all students to go above and beyond the requirements, especially if you're looking at competitive schools, UC Santa Barbara, San Diego State. You need to go well above and beyond the minimum requirements. But just doing these will allow you to apply. Yes?
If my student took a semester of fine arts at COC,
Yes.
does that count as a year?
That will actually count because it's 1 year of fine arts at high school or 1 semester at COC. So if they've done music appreciation, history of photography, art history, that would satisfy it. Yeah.
Quick note on that, it'll always show up as a 5.
It'll show. Yeah.
You had to walk me through it.
Right. If you panic on the transcript, and these are details I don't want to get too much in. There's always like the exception. The district requirement is only if you've done a year of foreign language, you only have to do 5 credits of fine arts. So if you do it at COC, that's a 5 credits. It'll show 5 credits still needed, but that requirement's waived because the transcript can't read the option with the foreign language. So. Okay. A little bit of how GPA is calculated for admission. All grades are important, but for UC and CSU, the most important years they look at are the 10th and 11th grade years. technically summer school after the 9th grade year, the summer school after the 11th grade year. This is what they use for admissions. And once again, only semester grades. You notice that unweighted grade to calculate GPA, they have 4.3210 for A, B, C, D, F. If a student does honors or AP coursework, they get additional points weighted in a calculation for 5.43, but not for a D. And sometimes students might have over a 4.0 grade point average, but they take an AP course where they struggle and get a D. They think, oh, it's weighted as a C. No, it's not. If you get a D in an honors AP course, you do need to make it up. They calculate the 10th and 11th grade year to determine your GPA for admission. 12th grade year is very, very important still, but you apply in the fall of your senior year. I'll show you that calendar in a bit, in October and November, and then you have to submit your senior year grades at a later date. So even though your senior year grades won't get you into college, they could get you removed from college if you get offered admission and you have senioritis your senior year and get bad grades your senior year. But the universities still look at the 9th grade year, just CSU does not calculate them for admission. Now, private and independent colleges and out-of-state colleges, they use what's recorded on the high school transcript, so they count all grades 9th grade year on. But for CSU, it's 10th and 11th grade, it's only in the A through G approved coursework. You can see our complete A through G list. You can just Google A through G course lists and look for Saugus. But basically, it's all courses in math, English, science, history, foreign language, fine arts, certain academic electives, does not include athletics or PE, and certain elective courses. Yes?
If they are applying in the spring, will they look at the,
You, as a first-time freshman, you have to apply in the fall.
not
So-
for all private schools?
Some have late deadlines, but that's very rare, so.
Is it just UCs that you have to apply in the fall?
Most
I've seen spring deadlines for spring.
They have spring deadlines if they're trying to be admissions targets or lesser competitive universities, or some smaller out-of-state schools, but for the most part, the application period is usually in the fall. And definitely for CSU, and I'll get to that calendar.
Yeah, I was looking at USC, but that's okay. And the second question.
But you have to be careful, because that might be for transfer students.
It's okay. The second question is, weighted versus unweighted, because I'm getting a lot of, questions about this, because my niece just went through, and they only wanted for unweighted grades, she took crazy hard classes, and so her unweighted GPA versus her weighted GPA is very different.
Right, and certain private schools do look at both, they look at the weighted and unweighted. CSU looks at the weighted GPA, they only give up to 8 extra grade points, so there's a lot of details. This is kind of like a more overview of how they calculate it.
So UC will look at it.
UC looks at weighted, and CSU looks at weighted as well. Yeah. All right, so I mentioned eligibility versus selection. You meet the A through G requirements, you're eligible to apply. You're in the applicant pool, but you still have to be selected from that applicant pool. So for UC, pretty much eligibility is they want that 3.0 GPA to be eligible to apply. CSU is a 2.0, private colleges differ by college. And you know what, I need to erase that. Don't look at the SAT, ACT anymore, sorry, I missed that. I'll get to that slide, the SAT and ACT scores are not required anymore. But after eligibility is determined, that's when universities look at the eligible pool of applicants and select them. That's why you want to go well above and beyond the A to G requirements, because just because you're eligible to apply to be in the applicant pool doesn't mean that you'll be selected. So you need to make yourself more competitive to be selected from admission. Now, for the Cal States and private schools, pretty much they use objective criteria, like grade point average, to determine who's accepted. The one exception is Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, who looks at a variety of selected factors, or things like extracurricular activities, how you've gone about in math and science, because Cal Poly is strong in math and science. But pretty much the CSU is more of an objective criteria with grade point average. But UCs and private colleges use what we call comprehensive review of the application, and I actually have a slide that shows you the 14 different factors that they look at for comprehensive review. For ACT and SAT, before I speak too much, look at the bottom. The UC and CSU neither accept nor look at SAT, ACT scores anymore. And people ask, well, if I submit them, will they look at them? No, actually, courts forbade them from using scores as part of the admissions process any longer. You could look up on Google News for more information, but a few years ago, there was a group of parents of students with disabilities statewide who argued that the tests were unfair. The courts ruled they can't use them anymore. They went to appeals court. The appeals court didn't take up the case. So right now, UC says we might be looking at our own tests that we created in the future, but if we ever do, we'll announce it by the time the students are required to take it are freshmen. They still haven't mentioned anything about that. So for right now, you can't even submit SAT or ACT scores to the UCs or CSU. They are test blind. And that's kind of a trend that's been happening nationwide. A lot of colleges are going test blind at admission. There's an interesting website, fairtest.org, that compiles all the information about colleges that do require SAT testing, which ones don't. So if you're a student, like for example, me, when I graduated high school, I was only applying to UC, CSU, so I wasn't looking at any private schools. So if I were that student nowadays, I would know I don't need to take the SAT or ACT because they aren't going to accept them. Many private colleges, in-state still request them. Out-of-state colleges do. So to keep your options open for private and out-of-state schools, you might want to consider having your students take the SAT or ACT. But if your students like me and my parents, nope, we just want you to apply to public schools in California, then you don't need them. The SAT has been changed. It's now back to 1600, which is the way it was many years ago. It went to 2400 for a number of years when they had a writing section that was also scored out of 800 points. That section has been removed and it's reverted back to the 1600, 800 points for math, 800 points for English. You still are able to take the SAT or the ACT multiple times. Colleges that do request them will use the highest of the scores. The SAT, half of the test is based on your math score. The ACT has less math than the SAT does. So I do recommend if students do want to take the test, take both of them at least one time. They're scored a little differently. It's like converting American dollars to British pounds. So you can look at the conversion index, see which score was higher, and then retake the one that you've done better on. Colleges also allow, most colleges allow you to super score. So that means if you do better on math on one test date and verbal on a different test date, you can separate out the scores for the different test dates for a better overall score. So long story short, it's advantageous to take it multiple times. It can only help you, it can't hurt you. So any questions about SAT, ACT? Yes?
I heard that scholarships, like for merit-based scholarships, it's good to have an SAT score.
Well, okay, yes, and that's about the, I'll get to that when I get to the PSAT, PSAT.
The second question is, does a district have any trainings or any, like, because I remember when I was
Yeah.
decades ago, right? But they had a program where I would go and they would like teach how to take the SAT. Do they have it, does the district provide any
No,
training?
because the trend statewide, the public universities said no more SAT, ACT. And you know, it's fair test, the number of colleges not requiring them is growing every year. It's, I personally think in 20 years, these tests probably won't exist anymore. The trend has been very much against them.
It's a handful left right now. MIT right now is pretty much off the top of my head, the only one that demands an SAT.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I heard
actually
that for
took it off the
scholarships,
one
it's
that's back.
really good to take it.
Because they were
And it's
not
back to-
happy.
it's back to-
Yeah, but scholarships, again, they have to change because the sign of the time
But
is.
they haven't changed yet.
Well, there's a bazillion independent scholarships, so it's hard to generalize.
There are numerous online.
Yes,
Khan Academy.
Khan Academy, yes, yes.
It's free, they have a very specific plan.
Oh.
It's great.
Okay, yeah, that goes with, sorry.
No, no
I have
problem.
one of those kids. When your child takes an AP, they have a college board.
Yeah, they're all.
Account.
yeah.
Or the
So-
PSAT also.
Right, and so you're automatically into that college board. The college board has a scholarship program, and if you do each little thing, you tick every box as they go, they actually have a link to the Khan Academy SAT, and that is part of the $40,000 eligibility for the scholarship.
Thank you.
Sorry, as you guys can tell, I do have a senior.
But yeah, there is a lot of free test prep, specifically with the Khan Academy. If you take the PSAT, or even if you haven't taken the PSAT, there's so much free test prep out there. If a student ever asks, should I pay for test prep? They say, have you exhausted all the free resources there are? I've never heard somebody say, yes, I used all the free resources, I need more. Khan Academy, if you haven't heard of it, was founded years ago by a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It helps out not just with test prep, but you need help conjugating verbs in your foreign language class or doing polynomials. You just type it in and the test prep is right there. Okay, comprehensive review. This is officially for the University of California, but it's also what private colleges look. There's not one thing that gets you in or keeps you out, rather a variety of factors that universities look at when accepting you. And they include the GPA. Sorry, I forgot to eliminate that test scores. That's gone for UC. But performance in a number of courses beyond the A through G requirements. Are you doing your 3rd and 4th year of science? Are you doing your 4th year in math? How many approved honors and AP courses you're taking? Eligibility in local context. How many 12th grade parents got a letter from me last spring about ELC? Yay, a lot of you did. That's identifying the top 9.5%, 10% of the junior class for extra outreach to determine if they're UC eligible. Quality of your senior year. They don't want you getting senioritis. They don't want to see seniors taking the bare minimum English and government econ. They want to see, are you taking a full complement of academic courses? Academic opportunities available at the high school. They know if SAGAS offers a certain number of honors and AP courses, are the students taking advantage of that? Outstanding performance in one or more academic subject areas. I have to tell you, I was not a math person in high school. I didn't take math my senior year, but I took both AP French and AP German my senior year. I love foreign languages. So that was my excelling in academic subject area. Special projects. Are you on the S&N crew? Have you been an Eagle Scout? Have you done things with the community? Improvement in academic performance throughout the high school year. If you have a bad freshman year, by no means does that mean you're not going to be college eligible if you show improvement later on. Achievements and awards, educational prep programs like REACH, and academic accomplishment in light of life experiences and geographic location. For example, UCLA, they could fill their entire class of people from Los Angeles County. We have to make sure it spreads statewide. Likewise, Berkeley needs people from Southern California there. They don't want just Northern Californians there. So you can see how it's a variety of factors. It's funny, last spring, some of our seniors, they got into UCLA, but not to UC Santa Barbara. And you would think, well, is it harder to get into UCLA than UC Santa Barbara? If you look at the overall admit rate, yes. But you have to consider that each individual student is considered as that individual student. And UCs are not allowed to talk to each other. So who knows, UCLA might see something in the student. They might say, hey, we need more students in that major, whereas UC Santa Barbara says, they look like a great student, but that major, we don't have enough seats in it. So you never know what there is going to be the reason they choose you or don't choose you. So you want to be as strong as possible in as many areas. Now, I did mention earlier, Californians are guaranteed admission to many of our public colleges. Oh, you know what, when I changed this from Google to PowerPoint, because Google couldn't go up there, it kind of changed the formatting. Sorry about that. But for the CSU campuses, if you meet the minimum A through G requirements, you're guaranteed admission, including Bakersfield, where my nephew graduated from a few years ago, great school. Maritime Academy, Channel Islands, if you haven't visited there in Camarillo, beautiful. It feels like a private college. It's a few miles from the beach. It's just gorgeous architecture. Love that school. Dominguez Hills, San Francisco, Humboldt, Stanislaus. I'll get back to Northridge in a second. But you meet CSU eligibility with the A through G requirements and GPA, you're accepted into those schools. Now, if a major is impacted, like nursing or certain engineering programs, you might not get into that impacted major, but you can get into university. Northridge, I have an asterisk next to. All of the CSUs have a local service area guarantee, where they want to make sure the universities are accessible to people who live in that region. But for our students are automatically accepted to Csun if they meet the A through G requirements. If you live in Sacramento, your local campus would be Sacramento State, for example, and you have to meet higher criteria to get into Northridge. But I tell my students, apply to Northridge. It's a beautiful campus, great university. That, Channel Islands, and Bakersfield, all near us, are great schools where if you're eligible, you will be accepted. UC guarantees admissions to all eligible students through the referral pool. That doesn't guarantee one campus, but where there's space. Usually that means UC Merced, that's our newer campus. is about 20 years old. But UC recommends applying to at least 4 campuses to increase your chances of being selected. I mentioned Impaction. This is the CSU Impaction Matrix. You could just Google it, CSU Impaction. This is, make sure it says 22-23. For the University of California system, they don't have set quotas by major of how many students they can accept in this major and how many they can't. They kind of decide that and they don't publicize it. For the CSUs, however, they do say if a major is open, so if you're accepted into the campus, you can get into the major, or if it's impacted, that means you have to get into the campus and get into the major. And the way you look at this chart, you just need to find your campus at the top. Like, let's say you want to go to Northridge and you want to study art, you'll see there's a 0 there, or an O there, which means that's open. So as long as you meet the admissions criteria for Northridge and you want to study art, you could get into the art program. But if you go down to Northridge, I see an O means impacted by criminology or criminal justice. That means you might get into Northridge, but there's more people wanting in a major than have room, so they have to set a higher GPA cutoff. So 2 students with the exact same GPA applying to Northridge, one might get into the art program because it's open, but the other one might not get into criminal justice because it's impacted. You notice some of the campuses, they have an I all the way down. They include Fresno, Fullerton, Long Beach, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Jose, and San Luis Obispo. That means every single major is impacted. So if you're applying to one of those campuses, don't put all your eggs into one basket. Don't just apply to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo because they might say no and you don't have another option. So I always say if you are applying to campuses or programs where there's an I, make sure you also apply to campuses where there's an O so you always have a backup.
And I just wanted to say real quick, I know I see some of you taking pictures. Mr. Williams, who does our SNN, is going to get these slides from Mr. Fricke, and he will upload them to the Saugus News Network for you, so you'll actually have better copies than on your phone. So don't worry about getting pictures of all these. They'll be available for you in a couple days for sure.
Yeah, and I could also share them directly if you email me, because I have it as a Google slide, so
there you
just
go,
type
too.
the name in it and it's shared. The application websites, they're all online, and I do application workshops for our seniors. Younger students are definitely invited to attend, but it's focused on the seniors. I walk them through step by step and what you need to do to apply to the university. I haven't set a date yet, but usually I do them in September. This is the one application for the California State University system where you apply, but you do have to submit the application and pay an application fee to each campus you apply to. So if you want to apply to multiple campuses, you do have to apply and pay for each campus. And the University of California application, once again, one application that you have to fill out, but you do have to submit and pay for each campus that you apply to. This is what it looks like on the UC application. They have this nice little map there, and as you click on each one, the university or the applications will go to those campuses. So it's very nice to have a centralized processing system, which makes it very easy for our students to apply to multiple campuses for UC, CSU. And if you qualify for a fee waiver, they actually have built-in fee waivers into the system. If you qualify, you could qualify for up to 4 per system, 4 Cal States and 4 UCs. So what are some things you could do to increase your chances of admission to UC and private colleges and CSUs as well? Take a challenging course schedule, perform well, take advantage of other academic opportunities, pursue your passions and interests, get involved in activities at school and the community, and explore leadership opportunities. So I'd say think quality over quantity. The universities know you can't take every single class on campus, you can't join every single club, you can't be involved in every single community service event. They like to see a focus on something, like our S&M crew. You guys have been in S&M for multiple years. Our clubs, students have been in clubs for multiple years, rising up to leadership positions, whether it's an editor, whether it's as a captain of a team, whether it's an officer of a club. They think quality over quantity. We had a student went to MIT enrolling there this fall, and I had a younger student last year asked me what I need to do to get into MIT. So I hooked him up with a senior, and the senior, without prompting, wrote that thing back. He said, you can't be all things to all people, to all clubs, to everything at all time. think quality, long-term commitment, rising up to leadership positions. Sometimes I read scholarships and students have done all these things in the 9th grade year, different things in the 11th grade year, different things at 12th grade year. You think, well, how involved were they really? They're kind of packing their resume versus long-term commitments to what they do. So some application timelines. For parents of seniors, your seniors can actually work on their UC and CSU applications right now. Sorry, the formatting changed a little bit. Mine changed it Google Slides to PowerPoint, but I'll put it back. So you can work on them now, but the filing period is between October 1st and November 30th. So I recommend working on them now. For the UC and CSU application, it's self-report information. So you're going to take your transcript and type in the 10th grade year, these are the courses I took, these are the grades I got. Do it for every grade level. For UC, it asks additional information listing your community service, clubs and activities, extracurriculars, and your personal interest statements. They don't like to call them essays, but basically they're essays. You have to write 4 essays about yourself. And if you're waiting till the night before they're due, that's not a good thing. So start working on those right now so that you're ready to submit on October 1st up till November 30th. Just be careful. If you do submit to a campus, like let's say you want to apply to UC Santa Barbara and you pay the fee, you could always add more campuses up through November 30th. But if you change your mind, say I applied to UC Santa Barbara, but I actually only want to apply to UC Irvine, they will not refund your money. Once they have your money, they have it. So you can always add campuses as long as the filing window is open, but you can't ask for your money back or change from one campus to another. So the deadline is November 30th. They're very strict. It's not 12:01 when it's technically December 1st, because it's electronic application. If you click submit and the clock tick past midnight, it won't accept it. So I say, start working on it now. Try to get it submitted by, Veterans Day weekend, the week we have off for Thanksgiving, because you never know if there's a power outage or what happens. You don't want to be waiting till the last moment to submit them. Deadline for SAT and ACT for those colleges that do require them, they like to have them done by November or by latest by December of the senior year. The notification of admissions, UC, CSU usually come out in February and March. Many private colleges and out-of-state schools, though, announce much earlier. University of Northern Arizona over in Flagstaff, that's the #1 school that Saugus students attend out of state. We get a report every year where our students go. #1 out-of-state school is always Northern Arizona. They do what they call rolling admission. Rolling admission is when the applications are received, they process them. And last year, students got notification of admission by August, this time of year. So if you apply to Northern Arizona this year, you might hear by next week or so. But UC, CSU, not till the spring. And then the SIR, the Statement of Intent to Register, is due May 1st. That's when you pay your deposit and commit to a school. How many have heard of the WUI, the Western Undergraduate Exchange? See a few hands back there. The Western Undergraduate Exchange makes it affordable to go to college out of state. California participates as one of the many states in the American West, including Alaska and Hawaii, going as far east as North and South Dakota. And all the Western states. So if your student is interested in going to college out of state, it makes it affordable. Our former principal, Mr. Ferry, his son and daughter are both at Boise State University, and they qualified for the WUI. So what they do is typically they pay 150% of the cost of a student who would be an in-state student at that school. So let's say you live in New York and you want to go to Boise State, you're going to have to pay 200% of tuition, the full out-of-state tuition. This cuts by half the out-of-state tuition costs. Especially considering other states, their tuition is less, the room and board is less because of the rent. Often families find that it costs the same to go to college out of state as it does to staying in state. Many popular schools are included in this: Colorado State University, Northern Arizona, Boise State, Western Washington University. Not all public colleges in those states participate. Arizona State, for example, the main campus does not. But they still have specific financial aid and scholarships for out-of-state students. Kansas, my parents are from Kansas. I spend a month there every year, love the state, but they're not part of WUI. But the University of Kansas admissions rep, they have great outreach to out-of-state students. They have a list of all the out-of-state financial aid they offer to students. It's just if you're in WUI, they follow a guideline set by the whole group. If they're not in WUI, they typically have their own guidelines of what they follow. So if you're looking at out-of-state school, it's not in the WUI, don't get discouraged. Contact the admissions office because most of them still have great incentives for students to look at them as options to go out of state. Oh, also, I just got confirmation on this, but it'll be on Friday, September 16th during lunchtime. We're having the mini college fair here at the Saugus High School Library. I've done it for the past few years. Didn't do it in COVID, but we hosted it last year. Did you attend last year? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome, glad to hear that. It's put on by RACC, Regional Admission Counselors of California. They're people who live here who represent out-of-state schools. Syracuse University. Do you remember some of the colleges you spoke to? I think Alabama was there.
I'm trying to remember. I know that they had one from Hawaii. I remember that they were
Yeah.
there. It was good. They were all informative and they had like papers to hand you out. So I think if it's a school that you're considering to go to, it's good to speak with like a representative.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a card, and sometimes they'll even like give you like discounts and stuff.
Yeah.
The Syracuse person's pretty cool.
Yes, and she's the one who heads it up, Janet, so she'll be there. Often they give free applications to apply. Just often they give you their business card and they say free application. Gary Bednarz, University of New Mexico, free application. He says, take a picture of my business card with free app, send it in, and you can apply for free. So that will be, I'll push out more information. I just confirmed with the Syracuse rep, Janet. She's the one who leads it up. But we'll be Friday, September 16th during lunch, and we hope to have 30, 40 schools there. So very excited. But not all of them are WUI schools. Syracuse, for example, in New York isn't, but many of them are. Hey, some little basics about financial aid. The FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is one application you need for grants, loans, work studies, certain campus-based scholarships, and more. You can start working on the FAFSA in October 1st. I have a slide with the dates, but you submit the FAFSA to every college that you are applying to and would like to attend. Then even though it's only one FAFSA you submit, you get an individual financial aid statement back from every single college. A nice thing also, the FAFSA, they have the IRS data retrieval tool. So for most, I mean, as long as you're filing like general tax returns, you could simply use the data retrieval tool and it'll take the information from the IRS, put it into the FAFSA so you don't have to put it all in yourself. And then as well as when you get a financial aid statement, you don't have to take it all. So let's say they offer you grants, money you don't have to pay back. Work study, which is where you work on campus, and for every dollar you earn, dollar goes to your education, and loans, which is money you have to pay back. If you don't want the loans, but want the grants and work study, you could say, I want this, but not that. So it's always good to apply and see what they're offering you, especially if it's work study. How many parents in here did work study in college? I know a lot of us did. Work study is where you get a job at the campus bookstore, gym, whatever. They do pay you, but for every dollar you earn, a certain dollar amount goes to your financial aid. And the Cash for College program, we're working on those district-wide. We will have financial aid workshops rolling out in the fall as we get closer to the date. Now, here's where it's kind of complicated. The federal government changed the filing dates a few years ago to give you extended time, more time to file the FAFSA. It used to be you could only file it between January and March 2nd of the senior year. But you do your taxes in April, so you think, well, I'm supposed to get my FAFSA done by March 2nd. I haven't even done my taxes because those are due April 15th. So they changed it a few years ago to the prior year. So when you're filing your FAFSA, you already have done your taxes from the prior year. So our current high school seniors, oh no, did I mess this up? No, I didn't. Okay, sorry, yes I did. So for high school seniors, you'll be attending college in 23-24. So when you should file the FAFSA starting October 1st of this year through March 2nd of next year, and which income are they using? They call it prior because 2021 is prior year from 2023. I know it's kind of complicated, but remember, parents of seniors, you can fill out the FAFSA now between October 1st and March 2nd. For our current juniors, parents of juniors, that means that this year's income, 2022, is what you'll use. So parents of juniors, as soon as you do your taxes this coming February and March and April, You'll be ready to submit it in October 1st, 2023 to start college in 2024. Parents of sophomores, that means the income you start making this coming January is going to be used for the FAFSA the following year to enter college the following year. So basically the change was good. It's a little complicated, but the old way of doing things is you had to file the FAFSA in February, March before taxes were due in April. The new way of doing things, the prior year, you get your taxes all done in February, March, and April. Then that fall you do the FAFSA for the following year. Yes?
So I see that you're doing this for freshmen and sophomores.
Yes.
What happens to postgraduates? How long do they look for the FAFSA in colleges?
Oh, good question. So
Students take a break years.
no, okay, so once you graduate from college with your bachelor's degree, you no longer have to report your parents' income on the FAFSA. So if you have a bachelor's degree or 23 or a veteran or other criteria. So yes, students in graduate school, people, people our age who want to go back to college could submit the FAFSA. So if you go directly from undergraduate to graduate, the only difference is you no longer report your parents' income. But before you have your bachelor's degree and are 23 and a few other criteria, you do have to report your parents' income.
Okay, and my other question is this also applicable to community college or is?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes, yes. And I do, wait till I get to the part about Canyon's Promise, so I'll get back to that. Very good question. Oh, you know what? I think I didn't include the Canyon's Promise in this one because that was a
We had
separate.
them come at one point.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
you do come.
Let me give you a heads up about Canyon's Promise. Yes, one requirement for Canyon's Promise is you must file the FAFSA. You don't have to take $1 from the FAFSA, but COC requires that you file the FAFSA. So if you are looking at COC for next year, the Canyon's Promise program, you must have the FAFSA on file. Yes, that's a requirement. So you must have it filed by March 2nd for the Canyon's Promise program.
And
Yes.
that's something you have to file every year, correct?
The FAFSA, yes, it's every year by year. And you have to do it for each, if you have multiple sons or daughters in college, you have to do it for each one of them. So if you have like 2 sons or daughters in college at the same time, you have to file one FAFSA for each of them. But yes, the Canyon's Promise program requires, and I'm glad you're having them come. Will that be next month?
last year.
It's not.
Okay, but
No, they
soon.
usually come in the spring-ish.
Oh, okay. So yes, so heads up, file the FAFSA for Canyon's Promise, absolutely. Okay, so kind of wrapping up here, some timelines. Freshmen, make sure you do well in academic classes, start building a strong grade point average, participate in clubs and activities, research potential college majors and careers. Sophomores, take the PSAT if we have space for sophomores. We've been, the district has kind of been reducing the PSAT to only juniors. We'll have more information about that, but you're asking about the National Merit Scholarship. It is wise to take the PSAT as a junior because the National Merit Scholarship is a large scholarship nationwide, and the only way you qualify is based on your scores on the PSAT as an 11th grader. Yes?
California is the hardest state to qualify for the National
Actually,
Merit
often
Scholarship.
number 2, you know which one usually is
New York.
harder? Or Massachusetts.
Yeah.
New York and Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
But we do have students qualify. For geographic distribution, they ensure that there's a certain number of students who qualify in every state, but we do have students qualify, and even if they're not finalists, they're semifinalists, which is still a good thing to put on your college application.
Did they just make a change to this to delay it so much? I'm from Virginia, I just
Oh.
moved here this year,
Oh,
and we did it like, even 8th graders could be
Yeah,
taking it.
other states.
Oh, yeah, that's like the pre-PSAT, so, yeah, as I say, we in California are getting away with it.
I can actually answer that.
Oh, sure.
I am from the East Coast. PSATs are actually used as grading purposes and for basic like ERBs in New York.
But also in
PSATs,
Texas.
PSATs are also used for boarding school entry as well in
Interesting.
high school.
Interesting,
I
yeah.
thought the states do that.
Yeah, the only way we use it is National Merit Scholarships, and if you want extra practice, you could go on the College Board website and do countless practice tests. You can even take the PSAT practice test, so. But yeah, so that's pretty much the timeline, and we also have Zello. Zello, if you haven't explored Zello, also, you have to go on through your student Google account, but parents, you can ask students to go into it. You have to go to the Google waffle and then click on Zello. And the counselors, we also go into all the classes in the month of October and do certain activities with them, college and career readiness activities, but you can spend a lot of time exploring colleges. It's kind of fun. You could like set criteria from colleges. I want colleges that are between 10 and 20,000 students in these particular states with these particular majors, and all the colleges that meet your search criteria will come up. So use Zello. It's a great way to explore colleges and careers and take personality tests to find out about what personality matches up with which college and which careers. But we counselors do go in and do our Zello activities. It's standardized by the district, but there's not enough time to do everything in Zello, so explore with your students for a little more. So that's pretty much my presentation. Any general questions and answers I can answer while I'm here?
Is there going to be a district-wide college fair? Like there was
Good
before
question.
COVID?
I know we have them before COVID. I haven't heard anything about it yet. So I don't have any information on that yet. I hope they do bring it back. I haven't heard anything for this fall. So hopefully maybe next year at the latest.
I feel like College of the Canyons are on their website and they're having a transfer fair. So all the schools that they transfer, so I just was wondering, we were planning to hopefully go straight to college, but I was just wondering if you walked around.
Oh, yeah.
And spoke to the schools, because they're gonna have a transfer fair.
Yeah, they would not exclude you.
Yeah, it's in September.
Yeah. Yeah, they would say, no, you can't come.
So you could get information that way.
Thank you.
Okay, but feel free to email me if you have any questions or like the presentation. But otherwise, PTSO, thank you very much for your hospitality and allowing me to present today.
Thank you.
Every year, always.
It's great information,
Thank you.
and it is a lot, but Mr. Fergie is a great contact too, to understand that kind of information. Okay,
And he does meet with students that aren't his.
Yes, as I said, counselor on complete
My
assignment
child
this year.
did go have a meeting with him
Yeah.
last year, so.
okay.
One of my children.
Christine had to leave, and we are wrapping it up. We just have to come back to our one point of business. Did everybody get a chance to look at the budget? The budget is exact from the last few years. So the only thing that will be different about it when we actually get it to you is that we're fundraising this year. So we will be showing more funds coming in, but the budget is basically fluid. It's an estimate of what we're gonna bring in and what we're gonna pay out. But we do have to have it to perform our business. So does anybody else have any questions about it? No? Okay. So we're making a motion to accept the current budget for now. Oh.
I was back there.
Oh, okay. I was like, yes. Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay. Motion is adopted. Our next meeting is October 11th. We are looking to have the J team come, which is the juvenile department through our sheriff's department. They handle drug related, and they have really great information. They bring lots of displays of things that your children might be using that you didn't even know was of danger to you or them. So it's a really good one. We haven't secured them yet, but that's our goal is for the October 11th meeting. So hopefully you guys will all come back. Thank you. This is such a great outpouring
Thank you.
of support for your children.
Anyone has membership envelopes, just bring them to me.
Yeah, membership stuff.